Thanks for joining us here on Genuine Diamonds in Arkansas YouTube channel. You see our diamond recovery plant in the back, and on our last video you saw me feeding into the plant all the ore washing through it, and the majority of everything goes on out to tailings. But I want to show you what we did keep from that sample that we ran. There are 4 of these 1-foot square boxes, and this is the heart of the plant. Everything washes down. That lower trommel sorts according to size, and this is the coarser material. It is the 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch size gravel, and it jigged across here first, and it's all bouncing up and down, and it feeds this direction, and the heavy material drops to the bottom, and then this bar keeps the heavy materials trapped in the bottom there. Well, what jigs and washes over the top gets caught there, and then it gets caught there, and then your heavies, your denser material, see, goes to the bottom, and the lighter material goes to the top and is constantly flushing off. Well, after it leaves this 1-foot square box, it goes on to the next 1-foot square box. They're in line, and the same action is repeated. And so all the heavies should be trapped in these boxes, and only the light material wash off and go on to tailings. So what I've done is I dumped everything into this old wash tub that was in this. So actually I have 3 of these squares in here, and the 4th one here. We're going to put these all in here and wash through it in a minute. But I wanted to explain, I clean these screens out because sometimes they get blinded with little rocks, and I want to get all the little rocks out of there because the diamond could be stuck in there, and I want to unblind my screen. So I just run that, and most people would cringe, oh, you're going to ruin your screens, but these are real thick stainless steel screens, and no, it doesn't ruin it by cleaning it like that. So this one's clean, and I can put it out of the way. What I think will jig first is this finer material. So that smaller trommel scrubber lets the fine material go through first, and then the coarser material goes through the other way. But we've got a bunch of fine material here, and I'm going to put it in this Pleitz jig. And I want to show you how this Pleitz jig works. We're pumping water from our pond near here. This is the same water we use for the diamond recovery plant. And now we've got water running in, and it fills this vat. And let me turn this on. You can see the action. See that jig is going up and down, and that traps the heavy materials in the bottom of it. And everything, all the lighter materials, will waterfall over the top of this and go into the vat, and we'll dump the vat and get rid of that. So right now we're going to concentrate all of our heavies. So I dump it in here, and I pull the square out real good. All the material is funneled down in here to the center of this round. Where's my water? That out, so any diamond that's in there is now washed down in there. It's all jigging together. Pretty soon, as the water and the material continues to go in, this is going to overflow this vat. It's higher on 3 sides than it is on this side, so pretty soon the water is going to waterfall over here, and I don't want to get soaking wet because it is the end of January. So by doing it like that, the water, the hose never falls out except for the camera. So, the water will run on down and not get me soaking wet. So I'm going to put some of this other material in. So a lot of people are wondering, okay, I've seen you run the diamond recovery plant, then what? What do you do next? like-sized material together. So this is all the heavies that the diamond recovery plant has. I'm going to wash these screens out, clean them out real good, unwind the screens. So this is a giant Saruka, like an automatic Saruka. And it's jumping up and down this whole time I'm talking and working. I'm going to turn this water off now, the pump. No more water needs to go in there right now because I've washed everything into that. And that's jigging up and down. It's a heavy brass ring like this, and that machine jigs it up and down like a Saruka. And it's heavy so that every time the machine throws it up, it drops down to the ground. I'm going to shut it off now and show you what we do next. I pull this ring out of here, and it's got a lot of water in it, so I don't want to flip it just yet. I'm going to set it over here and let it drain. And I'm going to put another ring, Saruka, in here, and it's riding on a round brass deal, and so I can feed the larger material in now, and we'll start the process all over again. So I'll turn the Pleitz jig back on. All the gravel out at one square, and then feel like this is one of those cooking shows. Then we put in a quart of water. So these are 3 more of the 1-foot squares that I've already put in this wash tub. And it's in this funnel right now, and it goes through a hole like that, so it's slowly feeding to the center of that jig while it's jigging. So that gives all the heavies a chance to drop to the center of that jig, and then everything kind of flattens out and works to the outside and overflows. But I put more material in there than that round Saruka would hold. So the light material just waterfalls off around the sides and went into this vacuum. This has had a chance to drain now. So I take one of these round boards and I put on here, and then I don't want this Saruka pie to break. So I flip it like that, and I just set it down on here to dry. I'll show you what we got. There are a lot of heavies in this. All this white over here, this is barite. And you'll see a bunch of black in with it, and that is spinel. And spinel is one of your classic diamond indicator minerals. There's probably red pyrope garnet in there, and maybe some green chromium diopside. So those are your 3 main diamond indicator minerals. And there's this coffee ground looking stuff is hematite, and it is also denser than your other minerals. So we'll let this dry, and then we will put it on cookie sheets, and my wife will look through it with a magnifying light and find the diamonds that are in this heavy material that's here. So we took tons of material and washed it and got rid of all the light material and concentrated it to that. I can pull this. This is a coarse Saruka. We want to get it draining. So while it drains, we can put this other ring back in there that was in before. And you think, well, what else is there to jig? Well, this equipment came from South Africa, and I was not real comfortable with the size screen they had as the bottom screen. Window screen, or 1/16 inch mesh, is the finest, or the coarsest I would want it to be, and this is coarser than that. The holes are bigger. And I was afraid diamonds would fall through there, and I'm sure they would. So everything that falls through here when it's jigging could be dense, and we have it in these buckets here. And I saved all this material, and there's a lot of it. A lot of it is silt or sand, but there's also good heavies in this material as well. So I kind of modified the diamond recovery plant that came from South Africa, and instead of discarding all the stuff that falls through here and just calling it silt, I've saved it because I've got a jig I could run and find diamonds in it. So now I feed this in here, and so we've got a real fine screen on that, much finer than that. This is probably 20 mesh or finer, and it's stainless steel in this. So I'm going to turn it on while this is draining and jig through several buckets of this. It'll hold about 5 buckets. So I want to go ahead and wash these through, and then I'll show you what this will produce. And this is what we've been throwing away, the way the process used to be. It looks like a bunch of mud or sand that I'm putting in there, but there's actually heavies in this, and very well could be a diamond in it. Because this is the stuff that fell to the bottom of those 1-foot square jigs, because it was jigging up and down. And so a lot of this could be your heavy or denser material. I'm going to walk through and just see how much. So there's 1 bucket. I want to do 5 real quick here, because when you do 5, it pretty well fills this back, and then I need to dump that. So, yeah, I'm putting a lot more material in than that ring will hold. It doesn't matter, because the light material, water falls over the side, and it only catches the dense material. None of the dense minerals will get away from it. They will all be kept. This is a great way to get rid of the sand and the silt. The stuff that's not dense. So, this Pleitz jig works on the principle of density. Mineral density. Just like the rubber tire jig on the big plant, it works on the mineral density. And diamonds are a 3.52, or in other words, 3.5 times denser than the same amount of water. Well, the lamperite is a 2.14, or only a little over 2 times as dense as water. The other rocks, like if there were jaspers in here, your typical country rock around here, they're a 2.65. But your other diamond indicator minerals, like the blood red pyrope garnet and the shiny black lustrous spinel, they're also about a 3.5. So just like diamonds, they are 3.5 times denser than water. That's why we're using water to spin the minerals as they dig up and down, so that all this is going like this, and your heavy stuff can drop in between. See See how quickly this Pleitz jig will handle a 5-gallon bucket of material? Or it's about 4 gallons, but anyway, it's as fast as you want to feed it, and you never miss a thing this way. Reach in here and feel, oh yeah, we're pretty well full of silt in our vat, so I'm not going to feed any more in. And that's probably big enough that all the heavies would be to the bottom of that big heavy Saruka. See how the water overflows here? Well, it's time to drain this big vat, and I'll just undo it here, and hopefully it'll all go out real easily. Yeah. Sometimes it's flooded with mud, and we have to run the water hose up there. Now all the water and the mud is getting away, and I'm going to set this over here. I'll flip this Saruka in just a moment, but I'll get it out of the way and get this other one to draining. This is our real fine. So the water can drain out of this while I flip this one and we take a look at it. There are more heavies in the fine material than in this coarse material, but you can see there are good heavies in this as well. See the, I'll set it down. There's a barite and hematite in here. Anyway, your diamonds would be here, but when it's wet, everything is shiny. We need to let that dry to look through it later, and then the diamonds will still be glistening, and everything else will get a dull look on it because it was in muddy water. But the diamonds repel water, so they won't be muddy looking at all. So we've got another one to flip here. Probably about ready. This is our finest material, a very fine screen on this. See, you almost, it's such a fine screen, you almost can't see the daylight through it. It's like I said, a 20 mesh or better. And it's stainless steel, very tough. You don't want to get a hole in it, but all the things I've done to it, I've not got a hole in it. So let's see if we find heavies and indicators in this. Yes, we've got. Now, you're probably used to a regular Saruka where you put everything in the center. It doesn't matter on this. The center is not, it's not centered, but all the heavies are isolated together. They all drop to the bottom of the screen, and when you flip it over, they're on the top, and that's all that matters, is that the heavies are in one place. But that Pleitz jig just bounces up and down. It doesn't throw anything to the center, and it's not a convex screen, it's a flat screen, so the heavies are evenly dispersed. What I usually do when the camera's not rolling and I'm just running a bunch of this real fine material, I'll feed 5 buckets in here into the screen, and then I'll dump this out and fill it with water again and run another 5, because that screen isn't going to fill up with heavies. So anyway, I usually run 10 buckets for one Saruka, and dumped the vat on the Pleitz jig twice. But anyway, that gives you an idea. We ran the plant. It just looked like brown dirt going through, but it's not dirt. It's actually crushed volcanic rock. It was a solid rock before we dug it up with the excavator and hauled it here on the dump truck, and then fed it in with the excavator and let the trommels break it up into smaller pieces, finer pieces. And then it went from being just a brown dirt to actually having rocks in it. And if you'll look, there's a lot of jaspers and things in this. And just looking at the ore itself, you don't see that there's anything in it. But this is real promising for diamonds. It's got all the diamond indicators in it. I know the equipment's working because it isolated the heavies. It put everything right where we want it. So then the key is just keep doing the same thing that you're doing, because everything's working right. Just wash more of it and look through it for diamonds. So that's all that's left, is to lay that out. And I mean, we could be looking at a diamond right now, but with everything wet, you can't spot it. So we'll let it dry and look through it and hopefully find our diamonds. So that's the process from beginning of to the end: digging it, hauling it, scooping it in, washing it, jigging it, and then jigging the fine materials together according to 3 sizes: the ultra fine, the window screen size, and then the 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch size together. So thank you for taking a look at how we find diamonds here at the Worthington Diamond Mine, just outside of southwest Arkansas's famous Crater of Diamonds State Park. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Genuine Diamonds in Arkansas.